Guys, welcome back to another Broadcasted YouTube video. Today we got our final top 50 player rankings for fantasy football. The NFL season's almost starting. Let's get right into the rankings. First player of the video in S tier, the best player for 2022, it's Jonathan Taylor. He's super safe. Last year averaged over 22 points per game. Great pick at the 101. The next player in S tier is CMC. He is easily the best player in fantasy when healthy. The only concerns is the injury. The first player in A tier is Cooper Kupp. There are a bit of concerns with Matthew Stafford's injury, but he was a cheat code last season. Had close to 26 PPR fantasy points per game, had the triple crown. He was great for fantasy football. Next, we got Derrick Henry. He was an absolute monster before he got hurt last season, averaging over 24 points per game. He's getting a little bit older, but he's still a beast player. Still should be great for fantasy football. Next, we got Austin Eckler. He had 20 touchdowns last season and is a PPR monster. We expect a little bit of touchdown regression, but he still get at least close to that number, so we still like him as an early first-round pick. And the last player in A tier, we got Justin Jefferson. The Vikings should be even more pass-heavy with new head coach Kevin O'Connell. Justin Jefferson could absolutely explode this season. Next, another tier break and another Viking, we got Dalvin Cook. With Kevin O'Connell, we maybe expect a bit less rushing work for him, but this could skyrocket his PPR upside. Last year, he also scored only 6 touchdowns. We expect this to go up by a good amount this season. Next up, we got Najee Harris. He was an absolute workhorse running back last year. Even if his touches go down a little bit, he still should have a super high floor with the amount of volume he's going to get in this offense. Next, we got Travis Kelce, our first surprise of the video. The Chiefs lost over 200 targets worth of players last season. Travis Kelce is the clear tight end one. Next player is a bit of a risky one, Alvin Kamara. If he's not suspended, easy top 10 player in fantasy football. The only concern is the possible 6-game suspension. Next out, another tier break, we got Davante Adams. A bunch of people are fading this year because he went to a worse situation, but he's still part of a high-powered offense. He played with Derek Carr in college, and we still love him as a first-round pick. Next up, we got Jamar Chase. Yes, this is a lot lower than a lot of people have him. We still like Chase this season. We just don't like him as much because there's so many mouths to feed in this Bengals offense. Next, we got another Bengal. It's Joe Mixon. We are a little concerned of his PPR upside. Last year and in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, they used Samaje Perine as a third down back. We still love Mixon to get a lot of rushing yards, a lot of touchdowns, but we are just a little concerned of the PPR upside. Next, we got Leonard Fournette. He was an absolute beast last season. He was the RB4 in points per game, RB6 overall. The Bucs lost a ton of players on offense. Leonard Fournette should be an absolute monster this season. Next, we have DeAndre Swift. We are a bit concerned of the injuries, but he was a PPR monster last season, averaged 6 targets a game. If he can stay healthy, he's an absolutely beast fantasy player this year. Next is Saquon Barkley. Another player like CMC. The injuries are a big concern, but if he stays healthy, his upside is so high for fantasy football. Next up, we got Stephon Diggs. He has a super safe floor in fantasy football. The Bills did lose their offensive coordinator, which could make this offense a little bit less explosive. And if Gabriel Davis breaks out, this does hurt Diggs a little bit, but we still love him. He's still the clear wide receiver 1 for Josh Allen. And the last player in C tier is CeeDee Lamb. He has sky-high upside. He's probably some of the highest upside in this tier, but he also has some of the lowest floors. He's never been amazing for fantasy football, but this could be his breakout season. Next up, in the next tier, we got James Conner. We absolutely loved James Conner last year. He was a high-end RB1 in games without Chase Edmonds in 2021. This year, obviously, Chase Edmonds is in Miami. We love James Conner. He should be a workhorse for this Cardinals offense. At number 20, we got Aaron Jones. This guy probably won't be a workhorse, but he's going to get a lot of those valuable touches. He's going to get a ton of PPR work. The Packers receiving core is not amazing. We expect a ton of targets for Aaron Jones this season. Next up at 21, we got Deebo Samuel. We are a little bit concerned that Trey Lance makes these wide receivers a bit less valuable in fantasy. Also, Ayuk is having such a good training camp. He could lower Deebo's value. He's still the clear wide receiver 1, though, in this 49ers offense. At player 22, we have Mike Evans. Mike Evans was even higher before the Julio signing. The Julio signing shouldn't be a huge factor, but it's enough to lower him a little bit. Mike Evans should be an absolute red zone monster this season with Gronk gone. We expect a ton of touchdowns from Mike Evans. Next up, we got Tyreek Hill. Yes, he does go down going from Patrick Mahomes to Tua, but he's still one of the most explosive players in the NFL, and we still do like him for fantasy. And the last player in D tier is Keenan Allen. We're expecting a huge year from Justin Herbert, and that only helps Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen always gets force-fed targets by Justin Herbert. We expect a big season again from Keenan Allen. Next up, we got Ezekiel Elliott. A lot of people are fading him because he is getting older, but last season, in the first 5 weeks, he averaged 19 points per game. He does always have these little injuries that hurt him, but if he can stay fully healthy this year, we love Ezekiel Elliott. Next up, we got Javonte Williams. If Melvin Gordon wasn't there, easy first-round pick in fantasy, but Gordon's going to take enough snaps to make him a third-round pick for us in fantasy football. Next up, we got Mark Andrews. We are a bit lower on him compared to consensus because, one, he was way better with the backup QB. With Lamar last year, he was averaging around 15 points per game. With the backup, over 20 points per game. We still expect good from Mark Andrews, but he's not an elite player for us. Next up, we got David Montgomery. This Bears offense is probably going to be absolutely horrible this year. The touchdowns might not be super high for Montgomery, but he always has a pretty safe floor as he is the bell cow when healthy. Next up, we got T. Higgins, the clear wide receiver 2 for the Bengals, but this Bengals offense is super high scoring, super high powered. He does get a lot of targets. We love T. Higgins this season. Last player in E tier is Michael Pittman. He's super young, super good last season, and he got a quarterback upgrade in Matt Ryan. First player in F tier, we got Nick Chubb. We are a lot lower on him as well compared to consensus because without Deshaun Watson, this Browns offense isn't going to score a ton. Plus, they're probably going to be down in a lot of games. RBs that don't have a lot of PPR upside and are in bad offenses are always bad for fantasy football. We still like the Nick Chubb talent, but we are a lot lower on him compared to consensus. Next player in F tier, we got Travis Etienne. He has super high PPR upside. He's probably not going to be the workhorse as it looks like James Robinson is going to be healthy this season, but he is going to get the valuable touches. Hopefully goal line work, and obviously PPR upside. Next up, we got A.J. Brown. We love the talent, but he is going to the lowest passing team in the NFL. Plus, they have Dallas Goedert, and they have Devontae Smith. He's clearly the wide receiver 1 there, but with all those mouths to feed and the little pass attempts, we don't absolutely love him for fantasy. Next up, we got Jerry Jeudy, one of our my guys this season. We do think he's going to be the wide receiver 1 over Sutton. We think he's going to get absolutely fed in this offense, and if it happens, he could absolutely explode with new quarterback Russell Wilson. After Jerry Jeudy, we got another riser. We got Chris Godwin. Yes, his injury is concerning, but last year without Antonio Brown, he averaged more points than Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. He was an absolute beast. This Tampa Bay offense should be still super explosive. We love Chris Godwin. Next up, we got Mike Williams. He's going to be inconsistent, but his boom weeks are going to win you games. He has super high upside some weeks, super low floors, but he still should get a lot of touchdowns. Still should be a great player for fantasy football. Next up, in the last player in F tier, we got Deontay Johnson. Big Ben absolutely loved Deontay. He was averaging close to 10 targets last year. He does get a little bit worse going from either Trubisky or Pickett whenever they switch off, but we still love him as a wide receiver 1 in Pittsburgh. First player in G tier and our first quarterback, we got Josh Allen. Should be the clear quarterback 1 value-wise. He was amazing last season, should be amazing again this season. Love Josh Allen. Next up, we got Terry McLaurin. He did get a quarterback upgrade. He's never played with an elite quarterback. Carson Wentz is not elite, but we do like him. He is pretty underrated. He's a clear wide receiver 1 in Washington. Should get good PPR work. Should get more touchdowns as Washington should be a better offense this season. Next up, we got Breece Hall, the rookie. He might not be a bell cow to start the season. He might not be phenomenal, but his end of season schedule is super easy. If he does become the bell cow at the end of the season, he could win people leagues. Next up, we got Dalton Schultz. He's one of our biggest risers this season. Last year, he was the tight end 3, and the Cowboys just lost Amari Cooper. He's one of Dak's favorite red zone threats. Should get good PPR work. We love Dalton Schultz. Next up, to start off H tier, we have Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson is the clear wide receiver 2 in LA, but Matthew Stafford can easily support 2 great wide receivers. We saw Odell to end the year have super good receiving stats, get good touchdowns. We love the talent of Allen Robinson, and we love him in fantasy. Next up, we got our QB2, Justin Herbert. We would not be surprised at all if he wins MVP this season. His talent is incredible. The Chargers offense should be super explosive. Love Justin Herbert in fantasy. Next up, we got DJ Moore. DJ Moore has never played with an elite quarterback in his career. Yes, Baker isn't elite, but he's for sure an upgrade from his other options. If DJ Moore can just get some touchdowns, he can solidify himself as a wide receiver 1 this season. And the last player in H tier, another huge riser for us. We love Darnell Mooney. This Bears offense is probably going to be horrible, but there are no targets. He's going to be the clear target number 1. Probably going to get force-fed by Justin Fields. Love his upside in PPR formats. And in the first player in our last tier, we got Cam Akers. We are concerned, are the Rams going to use him as a bell cow? Are they not? He's one of those boom or bust players. If he's a bell cow, he should be going way earlier than this, but if he splits with Henderson, he should be going way later. He's a massive risk in your drafts. Next, we got Courtland Sutton. A lot of people are drafting him ahead of Jerry Jeudy. We personally like him as a wide receiver 2 in Denver, especially in PPR formats, but he still does have super high upside. If he ends up being the wide receiver 1, he's going to have an amazing season for fantasy. Next up, we got George Kittle at 49. We are a little concerned Trey Lance is going to make all these receivers a bit worse for fantasy. Debo's going to get his work. Ayuk's going to be better this season. Kittle may be used more as a blocker, but we still do like him for fantasy. He's still that elite talent. And last up, at player 50, it's J.K. Dobbins. The injury is concerning. If he wasn't injured, he would be higher on the list. But when he does play, he has a super high floor and still should be solid for fantasy football. And boys, thanks so much for watching. We're coming up with more videos all throughout the season to help you guys win your fantasy leagues. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that like. Boys, thanks for watching. We'll see y'all later.